the world stands on the precipice of a new and terrifying era. Imagine a scenario where alliances forged in the fires of history turn volatile, and decades of tension erupt into conflict. Global powers, each with their own ambitions, strategies, and rivalries, become entangled in a complex web, dragging nations into the abyss of war. This is a glimpse into how a Third World War might unfold, based on current realities, historical grievances, and the ever-shifting landscape of international relations. The fuse is lit on the border between Poland and Belarus. Belarus, emboldened by recent military buildups and alliances, launches a surprise invasion across multiple points along its border with Poland. Waves of aircraft, helicopters, and thousands of drones swarm Polish terrain, overwhelming early warning systems and causing chaos. In a chilling escalation, Belarus deploys a tactical nuclear strike against strategic Polish islands, signaling a willingness to use weapons of mass destruction and leaving the world in shock. The threat of further nuclear strikes, particularly against Warsaw, hangs over Europe like a sword of Damocles. Poland, a NATO member, instantly invokes Article 5, calling its allies to defense. The United States, United Kingdom, France, and other NATO nations prepare for war, but the response is complicated by Russia's immediate and forceful support for Belarus. Russian forces, already positioned for rapid mobilization, pour into Poland, working to establish a corridor that would allow Russian troops direct access into the heart of Europe. Russian bombers, advanced ships, and submarines move into position, and long-range missiles are readied for strikes deep into Western Europe. As the world watches, Russia unleashes a devastating aerial assault on London. Dozens of cruise missiles and hypersonic weapons rain down on the city, aiming to cripple command and control centers, sow panic, and weaken the resolve of the United Kingdom and its allies. The British response is swift and fierce, with the Royal Air Force scrambling to intercept incoming threats and nuclear submarines slipping into the North Atlantic, ready to retaliate if necessary. Meanwhile, an unexpected betrayal unfolds in Asia. Russia, having grown wary of China's economic influence and global ambitions, turns on its former ally. Russian naval forces, supported by North Korean hackers and special operations teams, launch a sudden invasion of Chinese territory. Russia's goal? To destabilize China's leadership, disrupt its military planning, and seize strategic cities, including Beijing. The Arctic, once a region of scientific cooperation, becomes a staging ground for Russian operations against North America as well, threatening Canadian and American interests. China, caught off guard but determined, pivots to its own regional ambitions. The Chinese military moves swiftly to invade Taiwan, seeking to secure its renegade province before Japanese or American intervention can tip the balance. The logic is brutal. If China moves quickly, it can overwhelm Taiwanese defenses and present the world with a fait accompli. However, Japan, long wary of Chinese expansion, and with its own history of regional dominance, mobilizes its self-defense forces to intervene. Japanese troops, equipped with advanced weaponry and supported by U.S. naval power, attempt an amphibious landing on China's eastern coast, threatening to open a new front and potentially costing millions of lives. Elsewhere in Asia, North Korea senses an opportunity. Kim Jong-un, relying on Russian expertise and advanced military technology, escalates hostilities against South Korea. Thousands of missiles and artillery shells target Seoul and other major cities. South Korea, backed by American military might and a robust missile defense network, fights desperately to hold the line. Yet North Korea's cyber capabilities, enhanced by Russian and Chinese cooperation, disrupt communications and sow confusion behind enemy lines. India and Pakistan, locked in a decades-long rivalry, are drawn into the maelstrom. Pakistan, emboldened by alliances with Iran and Turkey, launches cross-border attacks in Kashmir and threatens nuclear escalation. India, with one of the world's largest armies and a formidable nuclear arsenal, retaliates fiercely. The subcontinent teeters on the brink of mutual destruction, with both sides contemplating the unthinkable. In the Middle East, Iran pursues its own vision of regional dominance. With Russian and Chinese backing, Iran accelerates its nuclear program and launches missile attacks against Israel. The Israeli Defense Forces respond with overwhelming force, targeting Iranian nuclear facilities and military infrastructure in a bid to delay or destroy Iran's nuclear ambitions. Iran's strategy is twofold: military conquest of Jerusalem and a global campaign to spread its revolutionary ideology. Palestinian militant groups, particularly Hamas, are used as proxies to destabilize Israel from within, while Iranian-backed militias stir unrest in neighboring countries. The result is a widening arc of instability stretching from the eastern Mediterranean to the Persian Gulf. As global conflict intensifies, secondary powers are drawn in. Brazil, seeking greater influence on the world stage, aligns with Russia and launches missile attacks against American targets, hoping to tip the balance of power. South Africa, Australia, Indonesia, and other regional players are forced to choose sides or face internal upheaval as the conflict spills across continents. Egypt and Jordan, balancing relationships with both Western and Eastern powers, attempt to mediate peace, but are ultimately swept up in the chaos. European nations, led by France and the United Kingdom, marshal their forces to defend the continent. Ireland, traditionally neutral, faces internal turmoil as revolutionary movements, some allegedly backed by Iranian interests, seek to upend the established order. Poland's eastern border becomes the front line of the New World War, with Belarusian and Russian forces pushing westward and NATO armies mounting a desperate defense. The United States, despite its global reach and unmatched military capabilities, is stretched thin. Domestic divisions, political uncertainty, and the sheer scale of the conflict test American resolve. Ballistic missile threats from Russia, China, and their allies force the U.S. to adopt a posture of maximum readiness, with nuclear forces on high alert. American aircraft carriers and submarines patrol the world's oceans, ready to strike back at any adversary. Yet, despite the carnage and devastation, there are glimmers of hope. Advances in missile defense, hardened shelters, and early warning systems may prevent the worst-case scenario of billions dead in nuclear fire. Underground networks of resistance and humanitarian organizations work tirelessly to save lives and preserve civilization. In the end, the outcome of such a conflict cannot be predicted with certainty. What is clear, however, is the need for diplomacy, vigilance, and cooperation among nations to prevent this nightmare scenario from ever becoming reality. The lessons of history are stark. War on a global scale brings only suffering and destruction. The world must strive for peace, even in the face of daunting challenges and complex rivalries, to ensure a future for generations yet to come.